Well, good morning, damn fam. Today, recording day is Friday, July 31st. We're about to enter August already. It seems like the summer has gone by so fast. Today, on the Daily Beaver Morning Show, we are going to have a little bit of fun. Things are not going well within the Conservative Party of Canada, as you well know. And today we are going to talk about that because it has not gotten better. and things are not going well within the movement as a whole, right? There's infighting in Alberta, there's infighting in Ontario. The bottom seems to have fallen out in Nova Scotia and all of Atlantic Canada for that matter. And the latest hotspot is British Columbia, where things really started boiling over uh, fast and furious yesterday. So we'll take a look at that, at conservatives stumbling over purity and patriotism. So grab your favorite bevy and make yourself comfortable because here we go.
Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 6 and episode number 956 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Oh, Canada, always 100% Canadian. Right there. There's the can't I moved the cup, so now I don't know where to put the hand anymore. 100% Canadian, and as always, Beaverific. Today, recording day is Friday, July 31st, 2026. It is a gorgeous day at the Beaver Lodge, as you can see by the sun on my face. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and not with me as usual is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly, but you will get your Grizzly time on not this Saturday, but the coming Saturday, I guess, after, because we will have our monthly podcast. So we will get our Grizzly time and we will have our just hanging out, just chilling and chatting and no politics time. So if you are in the National Capital Region, put it on your calendar and make a point to come down to the Lieutenant's Pump around 1:30 p.m. We usually start. Sometimes we try to start at 1. Sometimes we try to start at 2. Depends sometimes what time I can get into town if I'm traveling on the same day. But generally 2 o'clock in case there's a technical issue, and if you want to come on the show to talk, we would love to have you. If you do not want to be seen, we can do that. Just turn the camera off and just have your voice. If you are at home and if you want to participate, we can send you a link so that you can pop in. Just kind of come and hang and have some social time, right? We share some stories, no politics, no religion. Just show that there's a other side to us, kids and cubs. And because, you have to be more than just your political identity, kids and cubs. By the way, if there are people who would like to support our show because you like what we do and believe that it deserves a little bit of a support or a boost, or if you would just like to buy me a cup of hot chocolate because I do love it even in the summer, please scan this QR code. That will bring you to our coffee page or our tip jar. And we very much appreciate anything that you are able to send us. All right, kids and cubs. A big thank you goes to our podcast's founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvin Moon Publishing, and psychictarot.ca. Thank you so much for your support. And how is your mental health today? I am doing very well. Have to apologize. I have to do very well, but my clock is all over the place. Have to apologize for not having been able to do a show yesterday. I truly had intended to do so. But the previous night, we had gone out for dinner with friends, and I came back home and I just laid on the bed for a couple seconds just to get off my feet. And it seems that that was all it took. I woke up fully dressed, uh, perpendicular to where I was supposed to be in the bed, face down, still wearing my glasses. So with the phone in the bed. Um, so yeah, somewhere just before 10 p.m. or just after 10 p.m., I literally just conked out and woke up at 1:40 in the morning, wide awake, and tried to go back to sleep. That did not work. And then somewhere around 5:45 in the morning, I started feeling very sleepy, and there was no way I was going to be able to push through. So I figured I would just get a little bit of shut eye. So I laid down, and again, I put the phone very close to my ear, and the phone was supposed to ring at 7:30. Usually it rings for about 10 minutes and then it gives up. Um, Nothing in my phone indicates that the alarm was not on. So it would seem that the phone near to my ear, ringing for 10 minutes, and I did not wake up. And I did not wake up until 10:40 in the morning. So I ended up sleeping in two shifts. But again, very, very groggy. So yesterday, the day didn't start for me until quite late. And then everything started shifting. I was supposed to meet a friend at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I asked if that could be moved to 3, and they asked if that could be moved to next Wednesday. I said, sure, that's fine with me. And then I thought, okay, well, then during that that sort of window, I'll be able to do a show. And then found out that, well, not found out, but was reminded that we had friends that were traveling on a road trip going back home, and that yesterday was the day that they would be traveling through. We didn't know when, but they were traveling through, and we found that would be. And I was told in the evening. So I'm thinking, okay, in the evening, and they still got 3 hours to go to get back home. And right, they have a 6-year-old and they have a newborn, just a couple of months. And I figured, well, they'll be hungry, so I made food. I prepared a roast. And then, so there went the time to do that show. And then I thought, okay, well, after the roast, that will still be fine, right? Because early evening is 6, and I'll be able to do the show like from 3 to 5. And say, no, 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 not 6 or 7. They're arriving at 5:15. So, so we so every time I was rejuggling my schedule to say, okay, here I have a two hour window or 2.5 hour window here to be able to do the show. Um, right, uh, something came in or something shifted, and then I had to reorganize the day. And finally, we did go out and we met them. And once again, I went and got myself a case of baby fever because I got to hold little Maya again. She is just love. She smells so good. That ba that well, freshly changed, fresh baby smell. Let's specify, freshly changed. Yeah, just, absolutely wonderful. I just, I love babies. I love babies. I love puppies. So I gotta kiss all the babies, gotta pet all the puppies. Um, so yeah, right. It was just a lovely time, and my beaver sweetie went off. He had another social appointment, and I decided to treat myself to a yummy treat since I was very close to the gluten-free bakery, and picked up a little something and that we needed for home. I think we ran out of eggs, so picked some of those up, came home, and started working on the show for today. So yeah, uh, well, because by the time I got back from all of that, I think we were like closing in on 8 o'clock. Um, and when we got to 7, the other thing I had in mind was because that's the hour on Thursdays that our good friends from the Bill Kelly podcast do their live show. And I know that some of you tune into him as well. So I did not want to say, hey, I'm going to go live at 7, right? And said, come on, and I'll do the show that I was supposed to do today and compete with Bill Kelly, because that would not be nice. So I did not do that. So I figured, the latest I could start, earliest I could start was, maybe about 8:30 to give people a break in between both shows, and that's getting late now again, right? Because I try to aim for 10:30 as bedtime. So I realized at some point that I had to write off yesterday, and that it was just not going to work. So my deepest apologies. I really did try to have something for you. But we are here today. And thank you for your patience again. Just trying to get back on when I have a day like that where I sleep in 2 shifts, and then everything just gets thrown. It takes me a couple of days to get back to a normal time. So just wanted to thank you for your indulgence there on that. One programming note for next week, Kits and Cubs. If I am able to get tickets, because for some reason the ticketing platform is not working, but I do have a place to stay and I have my transport there, I am going to be renewing with a tradition I had that I dropped when COVID came along and had not taken up yet. But yours truly, you know how much I am a tennis nut. This weekend, the National Bank Open, our big tournament on the circuit, comes to town, and I will be going to Toronto this year to watch the women play. And if I can, like I said, if I can get the ticketing system to work, because every time I tried to buy my tickets, it kept on saying that we can't do that for you. So I have to give them a call. But if I can get my tickets on a Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, I will be in Toronto taking in some tennis. Not sure if I will be able to do a show Monday and Tuesday. Potentially, yes, so a short one, because even though the gates open at 10 something, the matches don't start until 12:30. So I should be able to do a show and have time to get there at the same time. Wednesday, that one might be a little trickier because we'll be watching the tennis on a Tuesday evening, and sometimes the matches can go quite a long while, and you get home late. So that's what I'm looking for at the moment. But if I'm not able to do shows at all, hopefully I will have little updates or things like that that I will post as shorts or shorter videos that I can upload and not to do live, but upload and have for you to check out during those few days. So something or the other, but we will be having some content of some kind when they're there, when I'm there. But I am just so very, very, very happy to be doing this again because it's been a long time that I've not had the chance to go, and it's it's one of those things that I have on the calendar every year, and I have it circled, and it just brings me so much joy when I get to go. So this year, I am going to have a lot of joy. In fact, I'm going to have a lot of joy twice because I already have my tickets for the Davis Cup tie when Team Canada plays Team France in September in Quebec City, one of my favorite places in the world to be. So uh, I went from not much live tennis in a little bit to lots of live tennis within uh, well, basically about when all is said and done in about a month, a little more than a month and a half. So I'm very excited about this. Uh, it puts me in my very, very happy place. Yay! All right, so let's get into it, kids and cubs, because I think we have a certain dose of juiciness for you today. Um, Things are not going well for conservatives in Canada overall at the moment, right? Um, we all see what is happening to the National Party. Um, Depending where you want to start the needle here. But we're talking about in certain polls having blown a more than 30-point lead. I've kind of settled in around 26 to sort of be fair, pick a fair number. But blew a 26-point lead, lost the election, keeps on claiming that he got 41% and more votes than any other conservative party in an election where there were more citizens voting, well, more citizens in the country, right, than ever before, and in an election where their election and their style of campaigning uh, also happened to turn out the greatest vote ever for the other party as well, right? The conservatives got their 41.3%, but the liberals came very close to 44. Right. It's very nice that you got to the highest total amounts of votes ever in your party's history, but so did the party that won. It doesn't make it look like that much of an achievement in that context. When you isolate the fact from the reality that the party that won had the exact same outcome in that department, it sounds impressive. When you put it in that context, it doesn't sound as impressive anymore. And that's why they never mention it. So, lost the election, lost the popular vote, drove vote to the other party, completely botched the financial part of that election campaign. For those, nobody's talking about it now, but for those who are paying attention, that costing was a disaster, particularly for the party that undeservedly, but for the party that has the reputation for being the finance, the economy party, the party best at managing the budget and everything of the sort. That what he presented as compared to that brand, that was It was laughable. It was laughable. Um, Lost his seat for all his complaining about backroom deals on the floor crossings. Was the beneficiary of a backroom deal himself when Damien Couric left his seat and vacated it. Prime Minister Mark Carney didn't play any games on that. Held the by-election as soon as Pierre was there. The entire time from the election until the time he got his seat in September, Pierre was pretty much nowhere on the national scene because he was focused on that. Then he was nowhere on the scene again until January because he had to focus on that leadership review. And then that's the other trophy or medal or participation medal that they keep buffing. They got that shiniest silver medal in Canadian political history. We got 41%. They keep shining that thing. Right? And then they got this one. He got 87%. Yeah, 87% of a certain number of delegates, most of whom were handpicked and had prior, according to what we're hearing in the back rooms, prior agreed that they would support. So the story wasn't so much that he got 87% support, but that there was about 13% who agreed to pay $1,000 plus travel and costs and hotel and all that kind of stuff, to be able to vote no to him back in January. Then there were the floor crossings. 4 of them. Then one MP just turned out and said, "Yeah, you know what? I said I'd be here for 4 years, but I'm done." Not even I want to spend more time with my family. Just, I'm done, and no further explanation given. Just deuces. And then Richard Martel, rumored to want to leave, but not being willing to cross the floor. So, well, how about a Senate seat? Yeah, sure, boom. Oh, what do you know? It just happens to be in a riding that is competitive, that the Liberals could win in Quebec at a time when Mark Carney's positives are 76% in Quebec and Pierre Poilievre's negatives are 69% in Quebec. We're talking triple-digit spread. If the Liberals don't win it, the Bloc could, but it doesn't look very much like the Conservatives might have a hope in hell, and Chicoutimi Le Fiard. And what happens to the leader of the opposition who lost the general election, lost the popular vote? Not that that's a thing, but the Conservatives love to point to it when it goes the other way. Who lost his seat, who promised there would be a change. And there is no change. The polling numbers are atrocious for the party. Now, to be fair, the type of disunity across public opinion companies that we see when there is no threat of election appears to have returned. Because if you're looking at the polls, there are some of them, like Angus Reid, that are showing that the Liberal lead is down to 4. And if you're on social media, you're seeing the Conservatives point to this. Hey, our stuff is working. Pierre is still doing well. Angus Reid is a public opinion company that is known to lean more conservative. So there's something in their mythology that usually shows the Conservatives doing well with them. They're also showing the NDP doing well. They have the Liberals at 40, the Conservatives at 36, the NDP at 13, the Greens at 3, the Bloc at 6. But on the other end of the spectrum, we have nanos. It has a weekly rolling poll, and they're showing Liberals with a 15 lead, which is a lead that nobody has seen from Nanos since sometime, I believe, in April. Nope, March. March 27th was the last time. No, sorry, let me correct that. Uh, April 3rd was the last time the Liberals had a plus 15 on Nanos. And during this period, it hasn't been, sky high the entire time with Nanos. Uh, Nanos has shown the spread get as low as 8 in the intervening time. But they're back at 15, showing the Liberals at 45 and the Conservatives at 30. Barely holding on to their floor. Liaison strategies. So Angus Reid, their polling was July 26th, Nanos July 24th, Liaison on July 17th, shows the Liberals with a 9-point lead, 44 to 35 with the NDP 11, the Greens 2, and the Bloc 5. And Abacus, the other one that tends to lean a little more conservative, showing the Liberals at 43, the Conservatives at 37, NDP 9, Greens 3, Bloc 7, and showing the Liberals at the leading 6. Those are the main ones that have come out lately. But on the approvals and disapprovals of either the government or the leaders, Pierre is not doing very well at all. On approval, disapproval of the government, and here's another proof here that you'll see with Angus Reid. The Angus Reid number that just came out on the 26th shows a +9 for the Liberals in approval. But every other polling company out there, all the way back to June 13th, it shows an approve of +20 or greater. So I'm not sure what's happened in the. If Angus Reid is spotting something that is a shift that is happening first, or whether or not this is an outlier, but the number seems a little odd here. And same thing goes for the the leaders' approvals. Pierre is nowhere. He's in the tank. I think there was one the other day that was actually kind of poetic because the Conservatives have had a very hard time quitting Justin. And the latest Nanos poll that was showing the Liberals with a 15-point lead. Now, again, this is one singular simple poll, not an aggregate number. So you got to take this with a salt lick. But it is still curious. January 3rd, 2025, Pierre Poilievre was at 41% as preferred PM. Justin Trudeau was at 18%. July 24th, 2026, Mark Carney's at 54% as preferred Prime Minister. Pierre Poilievre is at 18%. So, Kits and Cubs, Pierre Poilievre 2026 is Justin Trudeau 2025. Everything that Liberals were experiencing in that time period, that constant drumbeat of negative articles over and over again. When's he going? When's he going? When's he going? When's he going? Like the media was trying to make it happen. That's what's going on right now for the Conservatives. That's what's going on right now. Right down to the matching 18%. Things are not going well for the federal Conservatives. Overall, public opinion polling on the whole aggregate, if you look at all the polls together through 338, showing the Liberals with a 9-point lead, 44 to 35, with the NDP rising to 10%, the Bloc Québécois at 6, Greens at 3, PPC at 1. In the seat count, we're looking at Liberals 202, Conservatives 101, and the Bloc Québécois 21, NDP 14, Greens 2. If the Nanos poll that shows a 15-point lead was modeled out, they're showing the Liberals with a greater than 150 seat spread with the Conservatives. The aggregator at the moment is showing a 101. Right? Again, this is not good. And of course, we are hearing rumors of fundraising numbers going down for the federal party, which is not the best. We'll get to British Columbia a little later on this one because we're going to save some time for them. But in Alberta, of course, we know that there are some problems with the UCP in terms of a fight within the party from the separatist faction and the federalist faction that is happening. And in public opinion polling there, we are starting to see a little bit more of a narrowing of the gap that was there. There has been some indication that there is, and we brought you some public opinion polling on this as well from Ipsos, showing that things weren't particularly, Danielle Smith, the way she's been handling this, has not been particularly appreciated. And it's reflecting a little bit, not a big shift in any way, shape, or form, but a little shift here. You could see that the UCP here was just, where is this here? Narrowing here, we saw in December 20th, 2025, there was a 7-point gap between the UCP and the NDP, 49 to 42%. And then that gap started broadening and broadening. And we had in April the UCP at 52 and the NDP at 38. So it went from a 9-point, is it a 9-point gap or seven? A 7-point gap to a 14-point gap. So it had doubled. And since April, it is starting to narrow a little bit, where we're seeing UCP 51, NDP 40, so down to 11. We are also starting to see a little bit coinciding in the same period, a little bit of growth with the Progressive Tory Party of Alberta. That's the party that's being led by Pete Guthrie, who broke away from the UCP. I believe it is with an objection to the budget, if I'm not mistaken. And that's the party that Bonnie Critchley, who's been a guest with us a couple of times, has decided to join to pursue her bid. So there's a little bit of gain there, but I mean, it's, the party's at 3%. They keep talking about seeing some momentum happening for them. And the poll seems to indicate that there is a little bit of movement, but we have to get further down into further along the referendum campaign to see if that's going to result in an exodus at some point towards them, because it's not going to be the more separatist faction that's going to go to the Progressive Tory Party, right? It would be if the full attempt at taking over the UCP does happen from the separatists, and the actual Conservatives want some place to go. Saskatchewan, not much to talk about there. Scott Moe is doing very well. There was a little blip there for a while in October October 2024, so that far away. But there hasn't, actually, I can't say that because I'm looking, there hasn't been no, let's put it this way, the lead in Saskatchewan, when they last did it in November 2025, end of November 2025 was the last poll done for Saskatchewan specifically, said that the Saskatchewan party had a 16-point lead. And I guess nobody has decided that it's worth their while to do a poll again because uh, they don't know. There's nothing significant has happened to indicate that that would change. In fact, Scott Moe has been performing uh, pretty well for his province when you consider the gains that he got when Prime Minister Carney went to China and had some tariffs reduced on some agricultural projects, particularly things related to canola. The news that came out, however, that Mr. Moe may have used tax dollars to attend Lindsey Graham's funeral. Might put a little dent in his numbers. Probably not enough to make any difference, but a little bit of dent. According to Prisha Dev of Global News, Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe is facing questions over his trip to the funeral of late U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham, with the opposition calling on him to disclose the taxpayer bill for the visit. In a letter sent Tuesday, NDP Trade and Export Development critic Kim Breckner asked Moe to confirm whether public money funded the trip, and if so, immediately disclose the total cost and a breakdown of expenses. Quote, people have questions now. It's about what their money is being used for, Breckner told Global News. The requests came on the same day the provincial government announced Moe would attend Graham's funeral in Washington, D.C., at the invitation of the senator's family. The province said in a release Tuesday that Moe would join federal representatives and other international figures such as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in paying their respects. The province noted Graham had been, quote, a longstanding friend of Saskatchewan and had discussed Canada-U.S. trade and energy security with the Premier on several occasions. In Breckner's letter, she questioned whether attending the funeral was an appropriate use of public funds, citing Graham's support for U.S. President Donald Trump and his past comments about making Canada the 51st state. Quote, we are concerned about public funds being used to do this, Breckner told Global News. I don't believe that Saskatchewan's presence as a dignitary is required for somebody who took this position against Canada. If Premier Moe and Senator Graham did have a personal relationship, then by all means, Premier Moe should attend on his own dime, she said. Breckner also questioned the timing of the trip, saying Saskatchewan is facing pressing issues at home, including the possibility of about 14,000 frontline healthcare workers taking strike action after years without a contract. Saskatchewan NDP leader Carla Beck echoed those concerns in a Facebook post, questioning why attending Graham's funeral was a priority. Quote, Mr. Graham was one of Donald Trump's closest allies and endorsed his strategy to dismantle the Canadian economy, Beck wrote. Just last week, Trump announced more tariffs that will kill more jobs in Saskatchewan. She added, we must show strength. We must stand as Team Canada. The Saskatchewan government defended the trip Wednesday in a statement, saying that Moe traveled to Washington in his capacity as premier and conducted provincial business during the visit. The province said Moe attended Graham's funeral alongside Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc and used the trip to advocate for Saskatchewan, Canada, and, quote, a free and fair trade relationship with the United States. The government said Moe also met with Canadian Ambassador to the United States, Mark Wiseman, Canada's chief trade negotiator. Let's try that again. The government said Moe also met with Canadian Ambassador to the United States, Mark Wiseman, Canada's chief trade negotiator, Janice Charette, and 3 members of the U.S. cabinet. According to the statement, Moe will also meet with additional U.S. officials before returning home. Global News asked whether taxpayers paid for the trip, and a government spokesperson said the travel costs will be publicly reported, quote, in due course, and posted through Saskatchewan's online disclosure of out-of-profit ministerial travel and expenses. So again, I see both sides of this. Now it's very easy to some business stuff on it and to say that you're doing business, but it does can leave, understandably, a bitter taste in the mouth of many Canadians that a Canadian public official that did not need to be there. We had sent an official representative, so we had done our duty. Right, went on the public dime in support of a man that has indeed supported threats to our country, and indeed one could say that there is a personal nature to this relationship as well, especially if he got an invitation, and maybe he should have paid it. But again, if you're willing to take a hit publicly in terms, and maybe some of this is unfair, because when somebody dies, if you had a personal relationship with the family, of course you would go, right? But sometimes, a real politic is not fair, right? We're also in a situation where this happens. There's no way you can attend and not be seen as a by someone as a. Did you really need to do that in this particular context? And if you did you really need to make us pay for it? Did you? At a time when conservatives are their patriotism is being questioned. Certain political conservatives. I'm not talking about conservatives in terms of the Canadian people here, right? Scott Moe doesn't have the alcohol pulled from the shelves. Scott Moe is one of the two premiers that is soft pedaling retaliatory action. Scott Moe has stood with the government of Canada, however, on several things where the government of Alberta has not. But, right, hasn't been the most vocal opponent of Donald Trump and hasn't been the most vocal supporter of using our leverage, let's say. But things seem to be going well overall for him in Manitoba. While the progressive conservatives are really nowhere. If the election were to be held today, they'd pick up 16 seats in the legislature. The NDP would pick up 40 and the Liberals 1. So not much going on there. In Ontario, Doug Ford, well, I mean, the bottom has just fallen out of that one. There hasn't been some public opinion polling in all of July, which I find very, very, very surprising. And you would think with everything going wrong, there would be some. But we are getting news of infighting, right? There have been some people that have been fired. There have been incidents with regard to benefits that some people thought that they were going to have not been made available anymore because the premier can't run the risk of what that would look like. For example, a fund of taxpayer dollars that would be available for members of the legislature to use to buy into pensions that did not exist in Ontario, that Mike Harris got rid of, but Doug Ford apparently wants to bring back. He canceled that, and now there's a whole bunch of MPPs who are not as rich as Doug Ford or as the Minister of Finance, Mr. Bethlenfalvy. We're saying, well, it's easy for you guys to do that, but that's not that easy for us. So there were some rifts there. And as the situation with Doug Ford keeps on deteriorating, there are more rifts within the party that have been started to be made public. And Doug Ford's personal numbers are not doing well at all. People appear to be somewhat tired of him, and the news that keeps on coming out doesn't make him look good. Then if you continue in Quebec, the CAQ, Christine Fréchette, have to say she's doing a commendable job trying to bring her party back from the brink. In public opinion polls, the party has gone from 10% in March of this year to 21% at the end of June. Um, seat wise, from oblivion, 0 seats, to 12, were an election held at the end of June, bringing the Parti Québécois out of majority territory, but also affecting the Quebec Liberals, who had managed to climb to a prospective 49 seats when the CAQ was at 0, and now they're at 39 in that. So mostly at the expense of the Liberals, but enough at of the expense of the Parti Québécois to see the possibility of a minority government if an election were held today in New Brunswick. Well, we just told you yesterday of how things are not going very well in that party, particularly in the leadership race. Seems to be a significant amount of drama there. So that's not a good time. And in Nova Scotia, right, we have the bottom having fallen out completely from Tim Houston's party, with one of the latest public opinion polling companies, Narrative Research, showing that if an election were held on June 14th, the NDP would get 45% and the Conservatives 29. Now, to be fair, there have been other public opinion polling companies, Abacus and MQO Research, that have come up with data at the end of June and beginning of July, respectively, that shows the Conservatives doing quite well, 40 to 31 with Abacus and 38 to 22 with MQO. So the public opinion polling is a little bit all over the place on this one. But that that narrative research poll that came out in mid-June got a lot of tongues wagging, seeming to indicate that the bottom had fallen out uh, from Tim Houston. But he might be a little healthier than that poll would indicate, given the other two that have fallen afterwards. Followed afterwards. And then in Prince Edward Island, as we have noticed, we saw that one poll also that came out that indicated that if an election were held today, that the Greens would actually form government, and that the Conservatives might actually fall. Well, could fall a lot in that way, and it might be the end of Premier Rob Lance's political career. So there's not a lot of signs of things going well for Conservatives throughout the country, provincially or federally, right? Nothing at all. Here, there's the only thing that the Conservatives really have is that Angus Reid poll that shows, the spread narrowing to 4 or 5%. And in that time, kits and cubs, uh, things haven't gotten better, really. Uh, well, not haven't gotten better. Clearly, haven't gotten better because I just gave you the numbers. But uh, the news that's coming out, as I mentioned, there's sort of like a steady drumbeat of opinion pieces, of stories, of infighting, of things that you're seeing, issues being worked out on social media, and then how that's being covered, and people reacting to them. Why are you covering that? Why aren't you covering the other stuff? Well, we're not covering that because you have no mastery and control over yourselves, and you guys are choosing to wage this stuff out in public rather than acting like mature adults and having a meeting and trying to resolve it behind closed doors. Right? We had Andrew Coyne state that Conservatives had a patriotism problem, and then you saw the Conservatives meltdown like this. Liberals don't get to define what patriotism is. Well, I mean, unless you're calling Andrew Coyne a liberal, which would have me laughing Canadian. So, yeah, liberals don't get to define patriotism, but neither do conservatives, and certainly not to the editorial board of the Chatham Asset Management, headquartered in New Jersey, and a fond supporter of the GOP, particularly the Trump GOP. Whether the editorial board of a paper owned by such a company, I would say that they get to define who gets to define patriotism, even less. But Mr. Coyne was not trying to define patriotism. Mr. Coyne was pointing to the conservatives and noticing that they have a patriotism problem. Now, I guess technically you can say Andrew Coyne would have to have a definition of what patriotism is to point out that there's a problem, but I don't think that the problem is that difficult to see. We've been seeing this in public opinion polling for quite some time now, right? This is, I believe this is Ecos, Frank Graves. There's no data on this. I wish it was there. But there was a question asked. Oh, there we go. September 5th to 12th, 2025. Do you approve or disapprove of the way the following individuals are handling their jobs? Donald Trump, President of the United States. Liberals, 99% disapprove. NDP, 99% disapprove. The Greens, 98% disapprove. Bloc Québécois, 93% disapprove. Conservatives, 55% disapprove. Clearly, they see the world totally differently than the rest of us. Clearly. Now, this is from September 2025. Those numbers hopefully will have changed after the, everything that Donald Trump has said and done. Hopefully that number would not be that high now. But that's what it was in September 2025. They don't seem to be on the same side as the rest as everybody else. When it comes to the tariffs, Chris Knight in the National Post had an opinion piece here. And it was, well, not an opinion piece, actually, reporting on what some public opinion polling has revealed. New polls on both sides of the border have found that a majority of both Canadians and Americans are upset with the ongoing trade war between the two countries. But the Canadian poll also found a decreasing number of Canadians are hopeful that Mark Carney can manage to negotiate a good deal. A survey of almost 1,800 Canadians by Angus Reid, leans conservative, found that 28% of respondents felt our country should respond to the latest announcement of tariffs with limited counter tariffs of our own, while 34% said Canada should match the US tariffs equally. So Canadians are in a mood to fight back. Now, in this case, 28% felt we should respond with limited counter tariffs, and 34% said we should match them equally. So that's 62% of Canadians who think that we should respond with some type of tarification. Only 19% thought we should negotiate with Americans for lower tariffs, while just 7% said Canada should make concessions to avoid tariffs, and 12% weren't sure. All right. So if we're looking at this data here, out of all the options that were given to Canadians in this poll, not sure, can't say, make concessions, no counter tariffs, negotiate, limited counter tariffs, or match U.S. tariffs equally. Match U.S. tariffs equally is the one that had the highest level of support at 34. then limited counter tariffs. "62 want us to hit back in one way. 26% want us to either like just no counter tariffs, try to negotiate, keep on begging and hope something that will work, or to make some concessions to try to get a deal." We're in a fighting mood. We don't see that fighting mood that we have reflected in the conservative rhetoric when it comes to the United States when something happens, right? As Andrew Coyne said in his editorial. If something happens, it must be the Liberals' fault. It must be Canada's fault. And even if it wasn't, the onus is on Canada to fix it or make it better. We don't ask, what will the United States do to fix this? We go, well, government, what are you going to do to fix this? When the United States does something to us. Right? This is not helpful. The poll also broke down answers by voting patterns and found that conservative voters were much more likely than the general public to want to negotiate. 31% chose this option, or make concessions, 17%. They don't want to fight back. People wonder about the patriotism. Liberal voters were more likely to choose counter tariffs, with 79% opting for either limited or equal measures. They were also less likely to want to negotiate at just 9%. Conservative voters were also more likely to believe that US President Donald Trump would hold up his end of any trade deal. Still, overall, 75% of Canadians said they didn't trust the Trump administration to stick to a deal, while 13% said they did, and 11% were undecided. Among conservative voters, however, that trust level was at 32%, compared to just 3% among Liberal and NDP voters, and a negligible number of Bloc Québécois voters. And this is where the Conservatives are stuck, because 32% is not a majority, but it's a third of their voters. And if the Conservative Party started talking about the Trump Republicans the way that the Liberals do, or that the NDP do, or that the Bloc does, or the Greens do, the votes of those 32%, and particularly and especially the donation dollars of these 32%, and the most rabid of which donate frequently, that all goes to the PPC. Whatever a party would slide in to exploit those people. Pierre can't quit them, because if he quits them, then it affects the fundraising dollars, and if it affects the fundraising dollars, he's out on his ass. And as Coyne-Toronto, one of the people in the conservative faction that the Conservative Party of Canada under Pierre Poilievre do not consider real conservatives, but Eastern liberal elites, they did not clap hard enough for the leader of the opposition. Therefore, they are liberals. And again, if you're going to try to make me believe that Doug Ford or Andrew Coyne or Coyne-Toronto is a liberal, I have fun with that one, because that's a stand-up comedy routine that I'm willing to listen to, but you're not going to convince me. So among conservative voters, the trust level that Donald Trump would actually respect a deal that he's signed. As we see him not respect the deal that he signed with Saudi Arabia, as we see him not respect the deals that he signed with us, as we see him not respect the deal he signed with that the United States had signed with Iran before, right? We see him not respect anything, and still 32% believe that Donald Trump would respect his word here, compared to just 3% among Liberal and NDP voters and a negligible number of Bloc Québécois voters. Bloc Québécois voters are just done with Trump. Meanwhile, a separate poll by US-based YouGov found that Trump's tariffs are highly unpopular south of the border as well, with more than half of Americans disapproving of them and almost three-quarters saying they are facing higher prices because of them. When asked, do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling Canada? 14% strongly approve, 14% somewhat approve, 9% somewhat disapprove, 45% strongly disapprove. So 56% of Americans do not like what Donald Trump is doing. 28% do. So by a 2-to-1 margin, he's turning off his own people. One of the reasons this can't last on his part, if we can wait him out. The survey was conducted on July 22nd among 9,695 Americans and asked, quote, do you approve or disapprove of Donald Trump imposing 50% tariffs on most Canadian goods? It found that 49% strongly disapproved, while another 11% somewhat disapproved. Strong approval stood at 13%, with moderate approval at 12%. And 15% were not sure. So that one is a 60 to 25, so even more than 2-to-1. The numbers were fairly consistent when broken down by region, gender, and age, although politics played a role in the answers. Democrats registered 91% disapproval and only 2% approval, with 6% unsure. Republicans voiced disapproval of 27% and approval of 55%, with 18% undecided. So the whole part, about the Republicans teaching their Republican base to hate us, that's what that looks like. That's what that looks like. Is taking this tactic here, having 91% of people who are paying attention disapprove of it, and those you are coddling give you 55% of their approval. They have majority approval within their base for doing what they're doing to us. On the question of whether Trump's tariffs had increased, decreased, or had no effect on the price of goods they bought, 46% said prices had increased a lot, while 26% thought they had increased a little, and 14% said they had no effect. Just 3% thought prices were down. That's a 72 to 17. Again, Republicans were more likely to be bullish on the effects of the tariffs, but even among those respondents, a majority, 57%, thought prices were up at least a little, while only 5% said they were down. On the broader question, do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling Canada? A majority, 45%, registered strong disapproval, and 9% said they were somewhat disapproved, while 28% chose strong or moderate approval. And let me again put in this number here, point out that in this number, even though, right, we have a majority support with Democrats, we don't even have majority disapproval in the American country as a whole. So when we get the not all Americans, yeah, but the majority of you don't think it's okay. So not don't think it's okay. The majority of you think it is okay that this is happening. Canada's Angus Reid poll also asked Canadians, how confident are you in Canada's negotiating team, including Prime Minister Mark Carney, to deliver a good deal for Canada in its negotiations with the United States? It found that fully one half of Canadians are not very confident or not confident at all in the Prime Minister's abilities, while 43% were confident and another 7% couldn't say. And here I'm wondering here, because the question is, how confident are you in the team to deliver And it's not a question about their abilities. It's just how confident are you in the team to deliver? Because I'm not confident in the team's ability in the team. I'm not confident in the team to deliver a good deal for Canada in its negotiations with the United States because I do not believe that the United States is in this to negotiate a good deal. But not because they don't have the ability. This is a very good team by all intents and purposes, by any definition. It's a very good team. So there you go. The numbers have seesawed in recent polls. However, the same question in April found 51% confident against 42% not confident. Go back to last September, and those numbers were flipped. A year ago, they were neck and neck with 46% confident and 45% not confident. One other finding in the Angus Reid poll was that government trade deals are only part of the picture. An additional question asked respondents if they would buy more American goods if a trade deal made them more available on the question of alcohol, which has been pulled from store shelves by most provincial governments. Only 29% said they would probably or definitely buy more if they could. Another 19% said they probably wouldn't buy more, and a full 40% said they would definitely not. The Angus Reid poll was conducted from July 23rd to 25 and has a margin of error of plus or minus 2 percentage points 19 times out of 20. The YouGov poll was conducted on July 22 and has a margin of error of about 1%. Um, so yeah, that was Angus Reid, and I believe there was also polling by Abacus that came out and offered similar support here, or that revealed similar support. Um, let's see here if I can find it, because this is not, sorry, latest findings. Whoops. Okay, that was pipelines. There we go. It was on the second page because they've done a lot more polling since it first came on. Okay. Basically says here, this is from July 21st. Yesterday's announcement by the Trump administration that it will impose a new 50% tariff on a broad range of Canadian goods marks another dramatic escalation in the trade dispute between Canada and the United States. The tariffs, expected to take effect in 30 days, would apply to many products that had previously moved tariff-free under CUSMA, significantly raising the stakes for negotiations now underway over the future of North American trade. What makes today's news particularly interesting is that our latest survey was completed before this announcement. Between July 9th and July 15th, while Canadians were reacting to President Trump's July 1 decision not to renew CUSMA in its current form, we asked 2,705 adults how they wanted Canada to approach the negotiations. At that point, Canadians knew the trading relationship had entered a new and more uncertain phase. They had not yet learned about today's proposed tariff increase. The results suggest Canadians had already accepted that the relationship with the United States has fundamentally changed. They believe reaching a new trade agreement is important, but even more striking, they overwhelmingly believe Canada should negotiate from a position of strength, even if that means living with uncertainty for longer. They also increasingly see reducing Canada's dependence on the United States as a long-term national priority. If anything, yesterday's developments make these findings even more relevant. So, when I'm looking at this, if you're talking about skating to where the puck is going, um, Canadians are indicating that they're willing to give Prime Minister Mark Carney a lot more rope to negotiate, and a lot more time, a lot more runway. And they also increasingly see reducing Canada's dependence on the United States as a long term national priority. So when they see the Prime Minister out there going to all these places and trying to negotiate all these deals, those things that have um, uh, Pierre Poilievre saying these are not real meetings. They're just pieces of paper. that they're signing. It doesn't mean anything. Uh, Canadians don't see it that way, right? Canadians see us having 15 free trade agreements covering 51 nations in the world when Mark Carney became the lead, became prime minister. Uh, that was signed with Indonesia, and then sees him add Ecuador and the UAE for 53 countries covered with 17 agreements, and then working on India, which he expects to have by the end of the year. That's 18 with 54. The Philippines and Thailand, you add those, and now all of a sudden you're at 20 agreements covering 55 more countries. And then there's the ASEAN countries where Indonesia, uh, Philippines, and Thailand are already part of that. But it seems that we'll probably have negotiate deals with them that go even further than the ones with the ASEAN nations. But that ASEAN is a block of 11 nations. Take those three out, it adds yet 8 more. And then there's the Mercosur nations that we're working on, which is another 5. So all of a sudden, we're going from a country that has free trade deals with a lot of nations covering 2/3 of the planet's GDP and in a market of 1.5 billion people, being doubled to a potential market of 3 million people that will cover vastly more than just 2/3 of the world's GDP. Now, we only have 15% of our trade going to non-US countries. So while we've signed the agreements and have the legal architecture, we haven't done the work of actually building the relationships all that much because it was easy to deal with the United States. But that's a lot of stuff that we have now. So Canadians see him do that, and Canadians appear to be approving of this. So there's no indication to see. There's no reason to believe that support for the prime minister is going to be uh, decreasing rapidly because he appears to be doing the things that Canadians see and believe are priorities. The text goes on to say, if anything, yesterday's development makes these findings even more relevant. Trade negotiations are no longer a niche policy issue. Almost three-quarters of Canadians, 73%, say they have been following news about negotiations with the United States closely, including 23% who say they have been following them very closely. Interest is high across every region and demographic group, reflecting how central the Canada-US relationship has become to the national conversation. Um, Despite growing tensions, Canadians are not looking for confrontation for its own sake. 6 in 10 believe it's urgent that Canada reaches a new agreement with the United States on the future of CUSMA. Only 32 believe reaching an agreement is not urgent. Albertans are among the most likely to view an agreement as urgent, while older Canadians also place greater emphasis on getting a deal done. If we are looking at this in Alberta specifically, 64% of Albertans say that it's urgent that we get a deal now, as compared to 60% in British Columbia, 58% in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, 61% in Ontario, 59% Quebec City, and 45% in Atlantic Canada. They're just not they're not rushed in this in any way, shape, or form. And it's NDP voters, surprisingly enough, and Bloc Québécois voters who are most likely to say that it's urgent that we get one at 64 and 62% respectively. And liberals are the least voters are the least pressed with urgency, having coming in at 53% there. The clearest finding in the survey is Canadians' preferred negotiating strategy. Asked whether Canada should hold firm on its positions, even if negotiations take longer, or make compromises to reach an agreement sooner, 69% chose holding firm. Only 1 in 5 said Canada should make concessions simply to conclude negotiations more quickly. So that's fewer than what the Conservative base is. When negotiating, Canadians want Canada to hold firm on its position. So, yes, there we go. 69 to 20 and 10% saying that they are not sure. Support for standing firm extends across regions, generations, and party lines. Liberal, Conservative, NDP, and Bloc supporters all favor maintaining Canada's position over securing a faster agreement. 69% is the average for all regions. The greatest support is in Quebec, the lowest amount of support in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Quebec coming in with 77%, and Saskatchewan, Manitoba at 63. In the age groups, the 30 to 44 age group is the one that wants us to fight the hardest. And then the 18 to 29, so younger Canadians, believe that we should hold firm more than older Canadians. So, yeah, 68% of the 18 to 29-year-olds, 70% of the 30 to 44-year-olds, but 65% of 45 to 59 and 59% of the 60 plus. Women believe that we should hold firm more than men, 79% to 72%. And then again, in the parties, there's a bit of a contradiction here. Conservatives say that Canada should hold firm on its positions, even if that means uncertainty lasts longer, more than any other. So it seems that the party may not be maybe out of step with its base on that particular question here. The survey also suggests the trade dispute is reshaping how Canadians think about the country's future. Asked what Canada's highest trade priority should be over the next decade, 55% said the country should focus on reducing its reliance on the United States by expanding trade with other countries. Only 16% say rebuilding a stronger trade relationship with the United States should be the top priority, while 1/4 believe both objectives deserve equal emphasis. This would lead me to conclude that the majority of the Canadian public agree with Mark Carney that we have indeed experienced a rupture. Support for diversification is broad. It is strongest in British Columbia, Quebec, and Ontario, but even in Alberta, where economic ties to the United States are deepest, nearly half favor reducing Canada's dependence on the American market. Um, So 55% support overall across the country, but 59 in BC and 43% Saskatchewan, Manitoba, 47% in Alberta. Everywhere else across the country, it's over 50%. Over 50% in every age group. Again, women want us to reduce reliance more than men, 61 to 55%. And across all political parties, it's 50% or higher. The survey offers a snapshot of Canadian opinion just before yesterday's dramatic escalation in the Canada-US trade dispute. Canadians had already concluded that the relationship with the United States had entered a different era. They still want a new trade agreement and recognize how important the American market remains, but they are no longer willing to prioritize speed over substance. Nearly 7 in 10 Canadians say Canada should hold firm even if negotiations take longer. That's a level of consensus on what is normally a difficult trade-off. It tells us Canadians have become much more comfortable accepting short-term uncertainty if they believe it strengthens Canada's long-term position. Yesterday's announcements of new 50% tariffs is unlikely to make Canadians more eager to compromise. If anything, it reinforces the public mood we measured. Canadians increasingly see economic resilience, diversification, and reducing dependence on a single trading partner as matters of national security as much as economic policy. The politics of trade have changed. This is no longer simply a debate about exports and market access. It has become a conversation about sovereignty, resilience, and how Canada positions itself in a world where its closest ally is no longer seen as its most predictable partner. So that is David Coletto from Abacus Data. And that last bit that I read to you is the problem. That's where the conservatives' patriotism problem lies. Because every time they put on the darkest lenses possible to view everything that Mark Carney and the Liberal government does, and immediately tries to paint it as corrupt or not in the interest of Canada or incompetent or just the wrong way to do stuff, because it's not supplicant enough to the United States or not respectful enough of the United States, or is treating the United States like a country that we are in a rupture with, that we are in a war with, because trade war is war. Right? They're not there. They don't see it that way. But every time they criticize that, when the public mood, right? The public mood is economic resilience, diversification, and reducing dependence on a single trading partner is a matter of national security as much of economic policy. So if the Canadian public is telling you this, they see this as a matter of national security, and the Prime Minister gets on a plane and goes to China to make some deals. And your line is, oh my God, I can't believe he's there. He's wasting GHG gases. He's adding more GHGs. Aha, elbows down. Look, he made the deal. Oh my God, he's making China our strategic partner of choice. No, every time they do that, they are literally going against what the public mood sees as a matter of national security and economic policy. If you're making Canadians believe that you are happy that Canada is failing, they are going to think that you have a patriotism problem. If you've convinced Canadians that you need Canada to be failing in order to do better, you are going to have people believe that you have a patriotism problem. This one is not complicated. It's not complicated in any way, shape, or form. So we have Susan Riley, an opinion leader uh, for whom I have a lot of respect, who published something in the Hill Times the other day. Darn. I should have saved a copy of it when I had it, when it was available to me. Hopefully, I can find it here in my other source where I keep documents stored. But she wrote a piece that was very good, which is why I'm hoping that I can bring it to you. That says, well, don't know why here. It says, Canada will never surrender. And whether I am able to bring it to you or not, um, that attitude, we're not seeing it from the Conservatives. There's a lot of, we must, everything from a position of strength and yada, yada, yada. But there is no, we will never surrender. We will not bend the knee. There is a lot of, uh, uh, we would have had this done by now if you had elected me without any real thought or explanation on how that could have been possible, because the Conservatives have never told us how it is that they believe that they could achieve that which every other great mind has not been able to achieve with Donald Trump. Right? Because the conservative line still is that they would have gotten it done, they would have gotten it done by now, and we would have had zero tariffs. Nobody who's been paying attention to this believes. But the conservatives want you to believe that. And as we keep on saying, the only deal that ever was on the table that would offer us tariff-free trade with the United States was becoming its 51st state. That was the only one. So until I hear anything different, whenever I hear the conservatives say that, whenever I hear Pierre Poilievre maintain that, what I hear is, I would have sold us out to the Americans. Because that is the only deal that was on the table. Traditional diplomatic approaches here have failed. And the only real answer is to continue the boycott of American products. Right? We're seeing it in the auto industry, for example. Right? There's a drop in 2025, I believe it is, of 22% in the amount of cars that the United States has shipped to Canada for sale because they put a 25% tariff on certain things with related to cars. We did the same thing. There was a one-for-one agreement. And since we're selling less cars, fewer cars to the United States, therefore we are taking in fewer cars from the United States. And we are replacing them with cars from Korea and Mexico and Japan to sell to Canadians rather than ones in the United States. Now, again, you have to remember that about 100% of the net profit of the U.S. auto industry is represented by the cars it sells in Canada. 22% decline in vehicle exports to Canada represents about $5.6 billion in exports. That's a lot of cars and that's a lot of jobs. So let's not forget also that there's when the conservatives say that we surrendered on everything, we have that equivalent counter tariff and a remission program for those tariffs on our automobile industry, and we still also have a 25% retaliation on steel and aluminium in place. And our auto trade with the United States is $100 billion. In perspective, our alcohol trade with the United States is $1 billion. So when we're refusing, if we did with cars what we did with booze, the United States would be crying uncle pretty darn quickly, particularly the big three. We're having an impact. There's a reason that they keep coming to us on this. So things not going well within the conservative movement. We had this moment on the Curse of Politics with David Hurley. And Corey Tenike was talking about the recent conservative critics cabinet shuffle that gave us Shuvla Majumdar as the finance critic. He's doing a fantastic job. But to his credit, at least we get to hear from him. Mr. Jasraj Singh Halan, I believe his name is, the guy that Pierre initially put in that job, the guy that would have been our finance minister, we are to believe, had he won. We never heard from him. So, but he's not great. He's a talk fast politician in the way that Danielle Smith is. But if you stop and pay attention to what he's actually saying, It's not there. So this is Corey Tonight, Curse of Politics, letting us know what he thinks. And this is the type of stuff that, again, being aired out in public. And you should not react when stuff like this happens. But there's a whole lot of reaction.
A lot of the shadow cabinet before were no names and useless, which and of low profile, which is exactly what an insecure leader wants to do, right? Insecure people like to be surrounded by low profile losers. So the bigger the loser you are, the more you want to be
I
surrounded
think he
by
might
other
be a
losers.
nice guy, but their finance critic never made a headline in the entire time.
You could be the nicest
and he
guy in the
wasn't
world, but
intended
not.
to. Like, that was never his job.
And who's the no name they put in charge of the Alberta referendum? I don't know either, because nobody knows who the fuck that person is. A lot.
So yeah. Now, while the points being made, there is something to them. A lot of the stuff is stuff that I've said. The point is that going on a podcast like that has that type of audience that's particular, and just going out and saying these words and then going back week after week after week after week, just criticizing. Yes, it has gotten under Pierre Poilievre's skin. It has gotten under his influencer's skin. It has gotten under the party's skin. But you know what? The things that Corey Tonight have been saying are fair and they are accurate. Pierre did blow the lead. Pierre was unable to pivot. Pierre is not the right person for the job. Pierre is showing that he really loves being leader of the opposition. Pierre is not willing to make the decisions that are necessary in order to win. Pierre has a caucus management issue. You don't lose six MPs in less than a year. If you don't, right? But this is the type of airing dirty laundry out in public. Losers. And you're losing it when you start to have meltdowns because of editorial cartoons. Theo Moudakis put this one out the other day. Come on. Pierre Poilievre play Monopoly with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is, trade your Baltic Avenue for all your properties, all your houses and hotels, and all your money. Pierre, that's a good deal. Someone, Bernard Rulinski, one of your best cartoons yet, Theo. One can tell by the amount of butthurt conservative snowflakes showing up in your comments. Oh yeah, 10 out of 10 on the butthurtometer. So you had people melting down with this one. There's this tactic that conservatives, and this is from Ben Mulroney, but he is not the only one doing it. I am genuinely confused. Humor typically requires some sort of shared reference, which allows for misdirection or subversion. Nothing like this has ever occurred, so I can only assume that it's some odd attempt to own Pierre, in which case, ha ha ha, I guess. Yes, let's pretend that we are confused about what this cartoon could possibly mean. Right? And again, not limited to just one party. Here is Holly Doan. Holly Doan publisher owner of BlackRock's Reporter. And she is presented with this editorial cartoon. And the position here is, Theo, this confuses me. Are you saying the leader of the opposition is responsible for failed trade deals or giving away tolls on Gordie Howe Bridge? How? Please explain. We work here, and I don't understand this cartoon. Yes, because this cartoon is trying to suggest that the leader of the opposition is responsible for failed trade deals or giving away tolls on bridges. It couldn't possibly suggest what we all see. The obvious one is that if Pierre Poilievre were in the prime minister position today, this is how he would have negotiated. It literally is. Just imagining the counterfactual, the counter reality. Okay, if Pierre were negotiating, what would it look like? This. I'm not saying that Pierre's responsible for failed deals. There's nothing confusing about it. The humor comes from the fish out of water situation. Putting someone who is completely in over his head, as the Conservatives once said about someone else, in a certain situation. That's the humor. It's like they have to pretend they don't understand that somehow it's a hit job or it's just like some gratuitous attempt to somehow smear the leader, that the leader hasn't done or said anything to particularly deserve it. So, of course, you never start an argument with people who buy ink by the barrel. So, Theus, seeing the reaction that he was getting from Conservatives, there were some people that actually took the time to sort of like digitally alter it and put back a cartoon version of Margaret McCartney where Pierre was in that cartoon. Because yes, anybody with a remote little bit of sense and who has been watching what's been going on would see that would believe that Mark Carney would do that. And of Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre, Mark Carney would be the one that would be more likely to think that trading Canada in for a handful of magic beans that may not grow anything ultimately would be a good deal. So Theo came back with this. I don't think I've gotten so much hurt over a cartoon since this one came home. Or since this one here, sorry. And it's the one with the truck driver in Ukraine. With freedom on the front, and Tyrant Trudeau on the front, and Dictator Trudeau on the front, talking to people in Ukraine. Let me tell you how rough we have it in Canada. And they started melting down over that one, too. And then Theo Moudakis just kept on making them dance. Put the one out that we showed you when it came out of Donald Trump in front of a bunch of dominoes that had the names of countries listed on them. And that was soon after Donald Trump went into Venezuela and did what he did there. To Maduro. So we got this one from Theo Moudakis at that time. He goes, here's another one the cons were curiously really mad at. Conclusion, the truer the cartoon, the madder they get. It's Trump kicking down the first domino, Venezuela. that leads to Colombia, that leads to Mexico, that leads to Greenland, that leads to Panama, that leads to Cuba, that leads to Canada. And Polyev jumping up and down going, "Go, Trump, go!" And then some conservatives like Roman Baber responding to that one, thinking, "Oh my God, I can't believe you would say you would do that." It's like, do you not remember that Pierre Polyev was tripping over his dick to praise Trump for what he did in Venezuela? While everybody else was going, "What the huh?" There's a reason that Pierre Polyev is jumping up and down going, "Go, Trump, go," in that cartoon. It's the way that that news was received. And then they kept getting mad, so Theo kept going fishing, get some cubs, and then he had this one, and this is the last I know of the saga. I'm not sure if it's persisting, but it's a Pierre Polyev in a Dr. Seuss. "I do not want my clearance here. I do not want it, far or near. I would not, could not, can't you see? Don't ask me why, just leave me be." So yeah, they keep on giving Mr. Mudakis what he wants, and he keeps on saying, "Hey, here's another cartoon that pissed you off. Remember this one?" And they all melt down again. That's what's going on, and it doesn't put an end to the Pierre Musco drumbeat. Opinion columnist Michael Harris in the Hill Times. Polyev is not the conservative leader for these times. So conservative leader Pierre Polyev is making an image adjustment. He has decided to exchange his signature smirk and the snarky remarks that go along with it for more positive pose. He is now offering to work with all parties to prevent American tariffs on Canadian exports from happening. Quote, "Conservatives are here to help and fight for Canada," he recently said. The seemingly endless loop of slogans appeared to have stopped too. But will this political leopard really change his spots? Don't hold your breath. Polyev has promised cooperation before. Just before Parliament convened in February 2026, he promised he would cooperate with Liberals to get legislation through the House of Commons. But it didn't last. The attack dog reverted to snarling. "Our house is on fire. Canada doesn't need conservative news conferences giving the media an update on their inquiry into the COVID-19 vaccine. It may appeal to the base, but there are far more urgent problems facing the country. What Canada needs in this time of crisis is an opposition party that supports the common goal of mitigating the damage caused by the United States President Donald Trump and the wrecking ball of his punitive trade policies." Headlines in the Globe and Mail and the Walrus have not been kind to Pierre. Quote, "Help wanted, the federal government." Sorry, let me try that again. "Help wanted, the federal conservatives are in need of an adult." The humiliation of Polyev continues. The conservative feud is embarrassing. Grow up. All three pieces we have read to you on the show. The Globe's national affairs columnist Gary Mason nailed it. Mr. Polyev is failing his party on an epic scale. Many conservatives can see this. His negative ratings with the public are at 60%, according to Angus Reid polling. Those are not the numbers of a government in waiting. Let's try that again. Those are not the numbers of a government in waiting. Those are the numbers of a party awaiting a shellacking at the next election. According to Mason, there's no mystery in the CPC's dismal standing with Canadians. In a word, it's all about a failure of leadership. Quote, "Mr. Polyev is a man ill-equipped intellectually for the times the nation faces. He is most at ease when he's lobbing gratuitous, often childish insults in the direction of whoever is prime minister, all while wearing a look of smug satisfaction." And on that front, as an aside, as you know, is really itching to get. He has been positioning himself. He has been positioning himself like you could not believe. Well, yesterday, there was news that came out that the former leader of the NDP, Mr. Jagmeet Singh, and this was brought to us by Graham Richardson and Stephanie Hobb, CTV News. There's news that, or rumors, that former federal NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is being considered for an appointment as the new Chief Executive Officer of Destination Canada, the country's national tourism marketing organization. The possible appointment is expected to be met with harsh criticism from the opposition. It's not clear if Singh has any experience in the tourism industry. Yes, because Jason Kenney had tons of experience in the journalism industry when he got his patronage appointment at Post Media, or when he got his position on the board of ATCO. I'm sure that Jason Kenney was known as a global leader in housing, energy, and defense solutions. But now, for this particular patronage appointment, let's see, wonder out loud if the guy has experience in the tourism industry. Quote, one tourism industry source who spoke to CTV News criticized the prospect of Singh's appointment. Quote, this is an insult both to the industry and to the organization itself, said the senior industry source, who was not authorized to speak on the record. This is not a roving diplomatic appointment. This is a marketing organization that is responsible for $1 billion worth of economic activity in Canada. The article goes on, saying Singh was instrumental in keeping former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in power for years after the 2021 federal election through a confidence and supply agreement. The deal reached in March 2022 saw New Democrats support the Liberals on key confidence votes and budget measures in exchange for some NDP priorities. It allowed the Trudeau government to remain in power until the agreement ended in 2024. The compensation range for the chief executive of a federal crown corporation can be as much as $350,000 per year. The potential appointment comes after Singh became eligible for his federal parliamentary pension following years as an MP. Singh, who previously worked as a lawyer, served as leader of the NDP from 2017 to 2025 and as the MP for the BC riding of Burnaby South from 2019 to 2025. In the 2025 federal election, Singh led the NDP to its worst election result in party history, after which he resigned as leader. So upon getting this news that Mr. Singh might be considered for such a position, we had Mr. Jason Kenney. Hold on, for some reason, something's going very weird. Okay, that was okay. Wow, very weird. So hopefully I can Jason Kenney's tweet there. Yes, there goes. Jason Kenney wrote, sounds like an April Fool's Day joke. If the Liberals want to give Jagmeet Singh a patronage appointment to recognize his role in keeping the massively unpopular Trudeau government on life support for so long, so be it. Appoint him ambassador of Micronesia or consul general to Greenland. But please don't insult the millions of Canadians who work in the tourism industry by appointing him to run Destination Canada. He has zero relevant experience or proven competence, and he believes that Canada is stolen land marred by historic and ongoing white supremacy, systemic racism, and genocide. How can someone who believes Canada is a moral blight promote us to the rest of the world? That was Jason Kenney, the guy who's on the board of ATCO and Post Media, despite not having much experience, who believes that if Jagmeet Singh is to be appointed to something, make him ambassador of Micronesia or consul general to Greenland, because I'm sure Greenland was very specifically chosen there. Jason Kenney, nice little shout out to the MAGA base there. So it's not that Jagmeet Singh is undeserving of a patronage appointment, clearly, according to Jason Kenney, but to something like ambassador to Micronesia or consul general to Greenland. And don't insult the millions of Canadians who work in the tourism industry, but it's perfectly fine to insult the Canadians who work in the media industry or the housing, defense, and stuff industries, right? And then let's just gratuitously throw in an anti-Indigenous thing here. And then let's include a gratuitous accusation that anybody who is not a conservative believes that Canada is a moral blight. That's the reaction we get from conservatives. And I don't know about you, but that type of reaction gives me the feeling when you wonder whether or not that type of reaction is just gratuitously mean-spirited partisanship or blatant racism. Because you can tell me that every patronage appointment that happens is given to someone who's qualified or has experience in that job. Jason doesn't have to look far. He can speak from personal experience here. Just ugly. Ugly. Back to the article. In some cases, Poilievre's nastiness defies explanation. Why, for example, did he take a gratuitous shot at fellow conservative Corey Tonight at a barbecue event during the Calgary Stampede earlier this month? Astonishingly, Poilievre implied that Tonight was, quote, a liberal lobbyist from out east. This is the conservative strategist who engineered 3 election victories for progressive conservative Premier Doug Ford in Ontario. Was it just Poilievre's idea of more red meat for the Alberta base? Sorry, let me try that again. Was it just Poilievre's idea of more red meat for the Alberta base? When even conservative pundits like Brian Lilley question why Poilievre keeps picking unnecessary fights, the leader has a problem that he can blame on no one but himself. It was just plain dumb to smear Tenike. Consider Tenike's history. He was raised in a rural Saskatchewan farm. His conservative roots go back to working on the 1991 Saskatchewan election. He worked for the Reform Party of Canada in the 1997 federal election. Tenike was also Director of Communications for then Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Tenike's foot in both the progressive conservative and reform camps have given him a unique viewpoint to advise the Conservative Party. The world is in trouble because despots like Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin surround themselves with sycophants who tell them only what they want to hear. Poilievre is in danger of falling into that trap. The truth is he should have listened to Tonight during the 2025 federal election. The pivot to focusing the party's messaging on Trump and not the Conservatives' plans for affordability was necessary in these dangerous times. Yet Poilievre froze out Conservatives who could have helped him in the campaign. Out of touch, he instead doubled down on outdated research and silly name-calling like carbon tax Carney. But it was Trump, not the price of eggs, that was worrying Canadians. Poilievre's failure to read the political landscape erased a 20-point lead in the polls for the Conservatives and handed the elections to the Liberals. And the news just keeps getting worse for Poilievre. The Conservatives, under his feckless leadership, have lost 4 MPs to the Liberals, and 2 more since. Despite all that, Poilievre has persisted in his peevish and often silly attacks on others. He made the extraordinary claim that the Prime Minister did not have the economic credentials to run Canada's economy. Really? Carney has degrees from Harvard and Oxford, worked at Goldman Sachs, and was head of both the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. Poilievre should be careful about talking about credentials. After all, his only jobs outside of politics were a paper route as a boy and a brief stint in corporate collections at TELUS, and founding a research firm which he left after a year to run for a federal seat. It is worth noting that the man who wants to run Canada can't even manage his own caucus. One of his MPs, Jamil Javani, made an independent trip to the US during which he scolded Canadians for throwing an anti-American hissy fit earlier this year. And then they wonder why we think they're not patriotic. No one seems to have told Giovanni that knowing U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance is not necessarily something to brag about. Vance's boss, Trump, has threatened to annex Canada and is using tariffs to weaken the Canadian economy. The hapless Giovanni also made a big deal of Carney shaking hands with the man at Pride Parade. The only shameful thing about that was Giovanni playing to homophobic throwbacks in the Conservative Party. The MP paid no price for his disgraceful comments and behavior. That is on Poilievre. The federal Conservatives must face the fact that under current party leadership likely co-signs them to perpetual opposition. Under Poilievre, the CPC lost an election that it should have won in a landslide. They had a huge lead in the polls and plenty of cash. How much? The CPC raised over $48 million from supporters in 2025. Using that fundraising windfall, they outspent the Liberals by almost 2-1 in the last election. They not only lost the election, but ended the year in debt. Expect Polyev to resort to all the standard tricks to revive his political fortunes, a kinder and gentler Polyev, a Polyev who sounds and maybe even looks different, a Polyev who tries to show that he is in charge. But the CPC should know that it will take more than an image makeover or a shadow cabinet shuffle, or the promotion of talented conservative MPs like Michael Chong to make the party competitive again. So let's put it bluntly. It will take a leader of talent, substance, and real-world experience to compete with the Prime Minister and Liberal leader who has all three. As successfully as he has navigated the inside workings of the Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre is not that person. Boom. So that's what's going on in the overall sort of Conservative Party. Now, if we look closer to what is happening in British Columbia, yesterday was a day, kids and cubs. Now, on this front, I have to warn you that it is possible that I may get some details incorrect. Uh, in because I'm not as familiar with BC politics provincially as I should be, and I'm not as familiar necessarily with all of the players. However, um, a lot of things spilled over yesterday. It would appear that some of this may have started, as you know, when Carrie Lynn Findlay became the leader of the BC Conservatives. We stated that it looked like there was going to be a civil war within that party happening pretty soon because Miss Findlay really ran on an anti-liberal platform and really ran on a purity testing platform. Um, in British Columbia, traditionally, if you do not know, there used to be BC Liberal Party, and the BC Liberal Party used to be a conservative party in ideology, even though it had liberal in the name. Run by Christy Clark for some time, Gordon Campbell, all of them. They held government for a while, and then they sort of ended up in the political wilderness, and the party sort of split up. There's something that was called BC United that was happened at the time, and there's some people, the BC Conservative Party revived itself. There's some people that went from the BC Liberals to the BC Conservatives, and out of nowhere, they came within a hair of winning government in the last provincial election. And then since then, the leader, John Rustad, had a lot of difficulty. He got booted pretty much by his own party. We had a liberal leadership race. We had Carrie Lynn Findlay, who, in her race, was pretty much railing against pretty much anybody who would have been a member of the BC Liberal Party prior to the resurgence of the BC Conservative Party, and making it very clear that she doesn't want them in the party in any way, shape, or form. Then we found out, we hadn't heard too much about that, but this is now starting to come up. So we found that there was a member who had been elected under the BC Conservative banner, but is currently sitting as an independent and was at the time of the election, Mr. Jordan Keeley, who had given his endorsement to Carrie Lynn Findlay, and who was looking to join the party again. And it looked like Carrie Lynn Findlay was very enthusiastic about the idea. And then we found out on June 4th that he was charged with sexual assault. He claims he's innocent. Charges have not yet been tested in court. And Carrie Lynn Findlay has gone completely mute on that, has not addressed the issue publicly in any way, shape, or form that we know of. And we saw a statement come out stating something that there was no longer any consideration that this person would be rejoining the party, but that did not come from the mouth of the leader. It was a statement on paper somewhere. There is no video, no audio of that actually being said that we know of here. Then there was somebody named Amelia Boltby, who was, I believe, a member of the party, who crossed the floor in early July to the NDP. And as we have noticed with the federal party, when somebody crosses over to another party, how they react and have a meltdown, and they basically tear down the person. This has happened as well with Amelia Boltby in the BC Conservative Party. Some of it spills out to the public as well. There was a spat between them that was that spilled over onto Twitter yesterday between them. So yeah, she left the party. She didn't feel there at home anymore. Got the typical thing that happens when someone crosses the floor. Interestingly enough, federal NDP who tell us that they believe that when somebody wants to cross the floor, they should run in a by-election, had nothing to say provincially with regard to the NDP taking a floor crosser without that type of election. I think it was from the breakdown that we saw something. There was some type of account that was created called the Findlay Files. Maybe it wasn't from the breakdown I got this. So there's already an account and there's already people leaking information out. And it says here, we have received a trove of files and stories dealing with Carrie Lynn Findlay's brand of leadership. This is the latest and alleged screenshot from a KLF leadership campaign group where she refers to her own caucus member, Teresa Watt, as CCP, who was selling many memberships to CCP Chinese in Richmond. Watt was, of course, a supporter of Ian Black's campaign. Looking forward to many more internal leaks about KLF's real opinions on the other members of the caucus she now leads. And there's a screenshot here. Wednesday, May 6th, Honorable Carrie Lynn Findlay forwarded, and it says here, I don't have time to read this now or in the morning. I have to drive to Chilliwack and back for a TV podcast interview with CFFR. Please take a look and give me your advice. Remember that WeChat is China government controlled and Teresa Watt MLA is CCP and sold many memberships to CCP Chinese in Richmond. The Chinese community that supports us knows this. Okay. That is an interesting development. I'm not sure how much of a reaction here that it got. Teresa Watt here on June 19th says here, over the past few months, many Richmond residents have encouraged me to consider running for mayor. I'm truly grateful for your trust and support. After careful consideration, I want to be clear, I will not be pursuing this opportunity and will be continuing serving as your MLA for Richmond Bridgeport. So she was being recruited. Nothing on her Twitter account since then, except for her reposting something that Carrie Lynn Findlay wrote in response to this news coming out. I had a wonderful discussion today with MLA Teresa Watt, who also serves as our steadfast critic for multiculturalism and community partnerships. I appreciated the opportunity to express my gratitude for her support and dedication. I especially value her contributions, experience, and the important role she plays in bringing our team together. Building relationships with the Chinese Canadian community through meaningful engagement, service, and participation in community events across British Columbia has always been important to me. As the Conservative Party of British Columbia continues to gain momentum, increased scrutiny and political attacks are inevitable, but we will now not allow them to distract or divide us. We are focused on earning the trust of British Columbians and electing a Conservative government. Okay, so apparently she had a wonderful discussion. Not going to talk at all about the fact that you, in a private email, that you that you labeled somebody from your other party as being a member of the Chinese Communist Party. Okay. If you feel that's not nothing you don't have to respond for. Oh my word. Vancouver Sun reports here from Alex Lazenby. BC Conservative leader Carrie Lynn Finlay says she had a conversation with Richmond Bridgeport MLA Teresa Watt on Wednesday, but Finlay did not dispute that an earlier group chat message appeared to show her alleging Watt is associated with the Chinese Communist Party. The CCP allegation was posted by the anonymous Finlay Files account on X on Wednesday and is dated May 6, 3 weeks before Finlay won the leadership of the BC Conservatives. Remember that WeChat is China government controlled and Teresa Watt is MLA. Teresa Watt MLA is CCP and sold many memberships to CCP Chinese in Richmond. The Chinese community that supports us knows this, reads the message. A source told Postman Media that the message was sent in a group chat associated with Finlay's leadership campaign, and a screen recording of the chat thread provided to Post Media confirms the message was sent from Finlay's personal cell phone number. Post Media has independently verified the phone number as belonging to Finlay. Watt supported Finlay's opponent Ian Black in the leadership race. In a statement posted to social media by Finlay on Wednesday evening, the Conservative leader said she had just spoken to Watt and that building relationships with the Chinese community is important to her. Let's say here, neither Finlay nor Watt were made available for comment. A message left with Watt's constituency office was not returned before the deadline. Finlay's chief of staff, Chris Delaney, said, with regard to spurious and unsupported rumors, we don't, as a rule, comment on those. In a social media post, Port Coquitlam Mayor Brad West called on Finlay to provide proof if she is alleging that Watt has ties to the Chinese Communist Party. Quote, many know I have been both the target of and an outspoken opponent against foreign interference in our democracy, said West, who has gone public in recent years about the threats he has received for speaking out against the Chinese Communist Party. Quote, if Carrie Lynn Finlay has evidence to support what she has alleged, I urge her to immediately provide it to the RCMP and remove MLA Teresa Watt from caucus. If she doesn't, she should apologize to MLA Watt. Speaking to Post Media, West called Finlay's message a response to the leak, quote, amateur hour, saying that foreign interference needs to be taken seriously and not used to target political opponents. The controversy over the alleged targeting of Watt by Finlay comes as the party held an emergency caucus meeting Thursday morning, although the reason for the meeting wasn't disclosed. Emergency meetings. It also comes as BC Conservative Executive Director Angelo Isiduru announced his resignation, saying in a statement on the party's website that Carrie Lynn Finlay has a fresh mandate from our members and is leading our party into the next chapter. I wish her and her team the very best of luck. I leave on amicable and mutual terms. While Finlay was chosen as party leader, she does not hold an elected seat. At least 3 MLAs have confirmed they refused requests from Finlay to resign their posts so she could run in a by-election in those ridings. Delta South MLA Ian Patton and West Vancouver Capilano MLA Lynn Block both confirmed to Post Media that they had been approached by Finlay but declined to step down. Quote, I can confirm that I was asked to step down and I did consider it, said Block. After deep reflection, I decided to decline. Why? Because I know my riding. I love my riding. I grew up here, went to school here. My family has deep roots here. I was a school trustee here, and I love all the people in it. I love what I'm doing every week. Prince George Valemount MLA Rosalind Bird told Prince George Citizen she had also been approached and respectfully declined. Patton also confirmed to Post Media that he had stepped down as Finlay's Lower Mainland lieutenant, citing a lack of time due to work required on his farm, the need to take care of his 99-year-old mother, and his responsibilities as an MLA and the party's agriculture critic. Quote, the lieutenant thing was somewhat unclear to me as to what it entails and how much time would be involved, said Patton. I simply sent an email last night to KLF letting her know I will be stepping down for time-related reasons. So, assuming that this is all legitimate, she is losing her lieutenant for the Lower Mainland. She's asked 3 people to step aside so that she can run in a by-election. They've all declined. The one person she has not asked is her husband, who is also an MLA. Wonder why she didn't ask him. Curious. And Carrie Lynn Finlay, who suggested that one of her leadership rivals, I think it is Peter Milibar, would have a direct conflict of interest on anything Indigenous because his wife happens to be Indigenous. Now, have a text coming from her own suggesting that a member of her party is a member of the Chinese Communist Party or has affiliations with it. Seems to me that we have a leader of the BC Conservatives who might be just a teeny little bit racist. Everyone is just a little bit racist sometimes. Wow. So that comes out in public. Comes out that she's asked 3 different people to step aside. No, she's losing her Lower Mainland lieutenant, and Mr. Isiduru is also leaving the party. On the Finlay files here, it says the handoff from Angelo Isiduru, the builder, to Carrie Lynn Finlay, the destroyer, has sped up a chain of events that were already underway, with the imminent explosion coming very soon. Asking here again, BC Conservative MLA has turned down a request from party leader Carrie Lynn Finlay to vacate her seat. Quote, "I worked too hard as an MLA to sacrifice my seat," said Prince George Valemount MLA Rosalind Byrne, who is one of the 3 MLAs reportedly approached about stepping aside. CKPG Today has reported. All right. So according to the Finlay files, it says that we hear there's a very interesting reason why Carrie Lynn Finlay hasn't asked her husband to step down. Several, in fact, but that is all we get from that. Let's see, what else do we have here? So yes, the comment from Brad West stating that if she's got proof, she should submit it to the RCMP, and if she doesn't, she should apologize to MLA Watt. Not sure how much that actually happened here. Other things happening here. Jennifer Blatherwick, who's the BC MLA for Coquitlam Mayardville, reported here. People ask where Carrie Lynn Finlay stands on racism, on homophobia, and on a future that includes all British Columbians. Silence. Now, a new research director that said being gay is not acceptable. This hire answers those questions more loudly than Finlay will. And then it says here, there's an article that says, Rob Shaw, BC Conservatives' new hire comes with baggage from Alberta. Russ Kuykendall, previously rejected as political candidate after blog post took aim at gay people. Quote, "The message that appears to be sent to Catholic Christians who don't accept this lifestyle as acceptable as that, quote, equality, means that gay activists can take their agenda not just to your front door, but inside the door to places that are consecrated to the Catholic faith with uninformed." Let's try this again. The message that appears to be sent to Catholic Christians who don't accept this lifestyle as acceptable is that equality means that gay activists can take their agenda not just to your front door, but inside the door to places that are consecrated to the Catholic faith, with uniformed police officers exercising state coercion to defend that right. So that clearly not going over very well here. Again, sending the message of the BC Conservatives becoming the party of intolerance. Indigenous people, people accusing people of being members of the Chinese Communist Party, bringing in a research director that says that being gay is not acceptable. You know, keep on adding them up. Lots of drama going on here. Let's see, what else do we have here with regard to this. It would appear that the party as well has been putting out a lot of media lines and stuff against former Premier Christy Clark, because they fear that she is going to run for the leadership of maybe a new or emerging party and try to present herself again. And they want to basically crush her dreams before they even started. If you remember, Christy Clark was considering running for the federal Liberal leadership, and then lied pretty much about something, and it was very easily provable that she lied, and was kind of bounced out of that race pretty quickly. Angelo Isidoro wrote, "Building the Conservative Party of BC has been the honor of a lifetime. When I joined our party and stepped into my role in 2022, we were polling at 2%, had a broken website, old branding, no money in the bank, and almost no members at all. In just a few short years, we made history, surging to unprecedented support, presenting a powerful modern brand fueled by the largest membership in the province, all under a multi-million-dollar organization. Most importantly, we came within a hair of forming a majority government, from 2% to over 40% in just a few years. Serving as both campaign manager and executive director has been the highlight of my career. I owe a debt of gratitude to every single Conservative who joined our movement for common sense change. I'm extremely proud of the movement we built and will continue to build. Whether it was then or now, you are part of the future BC needs. After a decade of decline, the BC NDP has driven our province to the brink of total collapse. Now more than ever, Conservatives need to keep their focus on winning elections and forming a majority government. Focus, Conservatives. The Honourable Carrie Lynn Finlay has a fresh mandate from our members and is leading our party into the next chapter. I wish her and her team the very best of luck. I leave on amicable and mutual terms. I'm excited for the next chapter, where I will continue fighting back against the radical policies that plague the Western world beyond just BC." So that was his departure note. All right. Again, all of that could be legitimate. It could also be simply, I see where this is going, and it's not going anywhere good. So I'm going to get off this train now. Ian Patten, says the Minister for Delta South, when he stepped down from his duties, he said, "Yesterday I met Carrie Lynn Finlay. Know that I will be stepping down as Lower Mainland Lieutenant for the BC Conservative Caucus. Between my responsibilities as MLA for Delta South and Shadow Minister for Agriculture, the demands of running my farm, and wanting to spend time with my elderly mother and grandchildren, I simply don't have enough time to give this role the attention it deserves. This decision has nothing to do with any disagreement or dissatisfaction." Let's try that again. "This decision has nothing to do with any disagreement or dissatisfaction with the Conservative Party of British Columbia or its leadership. Leader Carrie Lynn Finlay is a longtime friend who continues to have my full support, and I remain committed to serving the people of Delta South and helping our team form government," says Mr. Patten. So there you go. And his Twitter profile has images of him, on the farm working. There you go. Harman Bangu, who is the MLA for Langley Abbotsford, says here, there are certain people who come into your life at just the right time. And for me, Angelo Isidoro is one of those people. From the very beginning of the revival of the Conservative Party of BC, Angelo was one of the key architects behind what became an incredible movement. None of this was built by one person, and it took an incredible team of people who believed in the vision and were willing to put in the work. People like Aaron Gunn, Aisha St, and so many others all played important roles. Angelo was right at the center of it, leading with dedication, hard work, and an unwavering commitment to the cause. Looking back to my 2022 by-election when many people counted us out, Angela was there helping lead the effort. It's incredible to think about how far we've come since those early days. On a personal level, I'm grateful for your friendship. It has been an honor getting to know you and for our families to become friends along the way. I'll miss having you beside me as executive director, but I'm excited to see what comes next for you. Wishing you, your wife, your entire family nothing but success, happiness, and God's blessings in this next chapter. Thank you for everything you've done, not just for the party, but for everyone who had the privilege of working alongside you. All the best, my friend. So that is a very loving tribute for work done. Carrie Lynn Finley, I wish Angelo Isidoro every success as he embarks on his next exciting chapter. I appreciate the continuity he provided during an early transition time as we move forward towards opportunity and prosperity for all British Columbians. Ian Black reported or stated, I was saddened to receive confirmation this morning that Angelo Isidoro is no longer executive director of our party. Aside from his appropriately well-lauded role in building the modern BC Conservative Party, I was truly impressed with the fortitude, class, and focus he displayed during the leadership contest. He treated the contestants fairly and with a firm hand. In my experience, he demonstrated dignity, maturity, and integrity well beyond his years in a high-stakes environment where every decision was under scrutiny. The vacuum his absence will create at the party is immense. I, for one, hope our paths cross again and often. So again, Mr. Isidoro seemed to be pretty much universally well liked. But there's still some sniping in there. We have the MLA for Kelowna Centre, the critic for social development, Christina Lowen, saying here, rising above the noise. Sometimes that means remembering why you did it all in the first place. Just a proud British Columbian who's sick of 9 long years of decline. Just a girl who speaks her mind, who believes in BC and a beautiful and prosperous future for our kids. Just a mom who started 2 writing associations. Just a human who knows that most of us feel all of this. Only the Conservatives can defeat the NDP. So if you're working against us, stand down. Because commanding to those you believe who are working against you to just stand down is the number one sign of confidence in your abilities to reach your goal. Now, with regard to Ian Patton's statement that I just read to you, where he said he would be stepping down to spend more time with his family, Josh Johal, who is the host of a show on 7:30 CKNW, and the ex-Global News Asia Bureau chief stated, Ian, blink twice if you're in immediate danger. Clearly, Carrie Lynn Finley's comms minions wrote this. The concerns Ian Patton is raising were there 4 weeks ago when he accepted the position. He wants nothing to do where this train is headed. So he accepted the position of lieutenant just 4 weeks ago, but now all of a sudden can't do it. Okay. Getting a little flavor, color, and texture here. Carolyn Elliott, who was also a candidate in the leadership race, who had narrowly lost to Carolyn Finley, says about Isidoro. In every conversation we've ever had, Angelo Isidoro's entire focus has been on making BC all it can be, not just talking about it, but dedicating his life to building a better province. He is wise beyond his years, a true professional, and a fundamentally good person. It's a huge loss for the party, but I know he'll find other ways to contribute to BC and beyond. So again, more love for Mr. Isidoro, who seems to, by all accounts, having done a very good job here. According to Vaughn Palmer, this one might be behind paywall. Need to take a look here and make sure that I'm all good. Okay, there we go. Do we have a bio note? We do not. So Yvonne Palmer, I'm going to guess, is an opinion columnist here with Post Media. It says here, architect of BC Conservative Revival bows out with plea for unity. The BC Conservatives Executive Director, Angelo Isidoro, this week left the party he took from nowhere to the threshold of victory in the 2024 provincial election. Quote, when I joined our party and stepped into my role in 2022, we were polling at 2%, had a broken website, old branding, no money in the bank account, and almost no members, he said in a statement on Wednesday. We came within a hair of forming a majority government, from 2% to over 40 in just a few years. Caroline Elliott, who finished a close second in the party leadership, called Isidoro's departure, quote, a huge loss. Trevor Halford, the party's interim leader this spring, said his talents are unmatched. Federal Conservative MP Aaron Gunn, who helped revive the brand provincially, said, quote, without him, the Conservative Party would not exist. Party leader Carrie Lynn Finlay interrupted her relentless house-leaning of party and caucus staff long enough to say a few grudging words on Isidoro's behalf. Quote, I appreciate the continuity he provided during an early transition time as we move forward toward opportunity and prosperity for all British Columbians. Thanks, Angelo, for staying long enough for me to compete. Thanks, Angelo, for staying long enough for me to complete my hit list. Don't let the door whack you on your way out. Isidoro was more graceful. So the guy who was forced out as executive director delivered the unity message that has so far eluded the party's new leader. 2 months after Finlay's narrow victory, she finished 60 votes ahead of Elliott out of more than 22,000 cast. The Conservatives are divided internally under a leader who seems bent on remaking the party in her own socially conservative image. The prospect of a divided opposition provides Premier David Eby with some comfort before what is expected to be a challenging fall session of the legislature. Quote, there are two different proposals for the direction of our province that are emerging, he told reporters this week. One, as he sees it, is the NDP government's commitment to development of natural gas, energy, critical minerals, and other resources to pay for expanded services and infrastructure. The other approach was the Conservative insistence that the big issue of our time is the culture war, said Eby, pointing to Finlay's hardline on socially conservative issues like human rights and Indigenous relations. The Premier also took aim at the Conservatives for supporting the return of American products to BC liquor stores. Quote, the Conservatives have come out and said we should get rid of the only leverage that appears to be catching the attention of the president, Eby said. I don't understand the logic of it except through the lens of the culture war that the Conservatives seem totally committed to over all other things. In Prince Rupert Wednesday, Eby noted that the Finlay-led provincial Conservatives, like their Pierre Poilievre-led federal counterparts, continue to support a northern oil pipeline and lifting the moratorium on tanker traffic on the north coast. Quote, the proposal from the BC Conservatives and from the federal Conservatives was that we essentially draw a line on the map from heavy oil in Alberta to the coast for the pipeline. It shows a clear choice about where we can go as a province, said Eby, sounding like a leader looking for an opening call to an early election. Though Finlay has said little since winning the leadership, Eby is always trying to define her before she does that herself. The Premier has been getting help from an unusual quarter, others on the centre-right who are also speaking about Finlay's extreme views. Quote, she cannot win an election, former BC Liberal Premier Christy Clark told Wolfgang Deppner of the Canadian Press recently. She's too kooky. Clark is a divisive figure too, but she surprised many, including me, by winning a majority in 2013 and came within 200 votes of a repeat in 2017. Then there's former BC Liberal Minister Mike Bernier, the new leader of the Centre BC Party. Bernier hopes to position Centre BC as a fiscally responsible alternative to the NDP and a socially progressive alternative to the Conservatives. His unspoken hope is to persuade at least two disaffected Conservative MLAs to change affiliation, given Centre BC official status and resources in the legislature. That's what happened with the One BC Party at one point. However, at this stage, unhappy Conservatives are waiting to see how events play out with Finlay. Eby is likewise watching to see if she provides an opening for an early election. Should be an interesting few months. So there you have it, kits and cubs. What's going on in BC? Total mess, total debacle. And we'll probably be hearing a little more of it. If you are interested in getting a more in-depth view of it, Jas Johal's show is a good place to get it. His show from yesterday had a segment on it. And I believe he did 2 shows, his regular show and then something called Jas Johal's Happy Hour, where that segment was repeated so that you can make sure that you get it. All right, Kits and Cups. And that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring. Word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us because we really appreciate it when you do, especially when you include a little bit of yourself as to why it is that our content resonates with you because you are influencers in your own circle. Kits and Cubs, here you go. This is the QR code that you scan if you want to go to our YouTube page and click on our buttons like, share, and subscribe. Also, click on our notification bell and click all so you can be notified when we have some content. And if you happen to be watching our show, not live, but within 7 days of the original broadcast on your tablet or your phone, if you swipe left on the comment section, you have the opportunity to grant us some hype points, which allows smaller channels like us to gain a bigger audience. So thank you for all of your support there. It means a lot to us. And another way you can support us, Kits and Cubs, is by scanning this QR code that brings you to our coffee page, which is our tip jar. You can offer to buy your favorite beaver a nice mug of hot chocolate if you think that he's done some good work this week and you think that he deserves a little treat, or a mug of hot coffee for your favorite grizzly. And if there happens to be a little more, well, then we put that to our internet fees and subscriptions and all that kind of stuff so that we can bring the show to you because we do incur some costs in order to do that. And we thank you for your support when you donate through our coffee page or the emergency hydration fund, as we like to call it. We get 95 to 97% of your donation. That's at ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver. We also have stickers, super chats, and memberships on our YouTube page. Yes, that's it, YouTube page, where you can donate. We get about 70% of your donation there. And if you're doing the Buy Canadian thing and avoiding the USCE Tech Bros, a direct bank-to-bank transfer to our email, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, ensures that your transaction remains entirely Canadian, and we get 100% of your donation. And we thank you so much for your support in that way. Because democracy is something that you do, Kids and Cubs. Well, the House of Commons petition to get the House to ask the House to stop funding Stornoway. That one closed yesterday, and fortunately did not get to do a final push because we didn't have a show yesterday, but that one closed at 28,194 signatures. So good job, Canada, on that one. We have our petition, however, to try to save the Hockey Night in Canada tradition that was brought to us by the Blue Beach Band. And you can go to this page on change.org in order to be able to find it. If you're looking for it, it's called Save Hockey Night in Canada on change.org. So let me go here and put this in the chat for you. Come on. There we go. And we have, for this one, Kits and Cubs, about 16,608 signatures. We also have the Red Cross Manitoba flood appeal. So if you would like to help our brothers and sisters in Manitoba who have taken a little bit of hit, go to give.redcross.ca/page/26MBFLA. That's give.redcross.ca/page/26MBFLA. And if you want to contribute by email or by phone, you can do that by calling 1-800. Whoops. Let's try that again. 1-800-418-1111. That's 1-800-418-1111. Or by sending an email to wecare@redcross.ca. 1-800-418-1111 or wecare@redcross.ca. Also, we have by-elections coming, federal ones in Capilano, North Vancouver, in Beaches, East York, and in Chicoutimi-Lafière. So please find out who your local candidates are. And of course, call Elections Canada if you can give your time at a polling station, either for advance polling or the big night of the election itself, August 31st. By elections themselves, I should say. That's always very helpful. If you are in New Brunswick, do remember that there is the leadership race for the New Brunswick Progressive Conservatives. And if you want to be able to vote in that one, you need to register by August 14th, because that's the membership registration deadline. The debates, have concluded already, it seems, concluded in late July 2026, and the convention winner and announcement will be made on October 17th, 2026. Also, if you are in Alberta, given the referendum that is coming up, please consider, if you have the time, I'm not sure if it's available yet, you might want to look into that, but asking for a special ballot so that you can vote with a mail-in ballot. And because there are going to be 10 different votes, and it's going to be color coordinated and all that kind of stuff, so it could take a little while, and you might be in line longer. So by asking for mail-in ballot, you actually have time to have your ballot at home and actually carefully consider the questions that are there. Maybe do a little extra research before you cast your vote, rather than just going into a booth and deciding. Sometimes maybe on the spot, if you haven't had a chance to talk about it or reflect on it as much as you should have before voting. So that could be an advantage, because I have a feeling it's going to be a long day for people. I'm not sure it's going to take necessarily 10 times the time, but it is going to be longer because you're casting more than just one or two votes here. So yes, please, these are all things that you can do to make things easier for you when it comes to all of these different democratic exercises that are taking place in the country at the moment. Words of wisdom, kids and cubs. I'm getting ready to do that. I'm getting ready to go and do something I really, really love. Going to watch some tennis, and today I'm going to get to play some too as well. So if you have the opportunity to indulge in something that brings you just a lot of joy over the next few days, please take a moment to do that. I would very highly encourage it. All right, kids, it can be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And at the count of three, can I please have you say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock on 1, 2, and 3. Let me hear you. Oh, yeah, that's good stuff right there. And since you asked so nicely, how can I deny you? Here's a little cock-a-doodle-doo just for you, and we'll be back very soon. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right. We are back with a little bit of Canadians Who Make Us Proud, Commonwealth Games edition. We've got a double dose for you because we didn't get a chance to do it yesterday. So on Wednesday, Sarah Mitten defended her title in the women's shot put with a 19.88 meter throw to take home the gold. We had Alex Belmar, who captured a silver medal in the men's 94 kilogram weightlifting category. And I'm sure there was more than that on that day, because I believe there were 4 medals on that day. So let me just get the names of the other 2. We had Rose Baudouin in weightlifting, captured a bronze medal in the women's 86 kilogram division. And we had the men's 3x3 basketball team, which is comprised of Garrett Ostapchuk, Lee Alistair Melimick, Kyrell Sopatik, and Reed Mitchell, that defeated Scotland 19-9 to win the bronze medal. There was also Nandini Sharma, who had crossed the finish line in the silver medal position for the women's 1,500 meter T54 final, but she was unfortunately stripped of the medal following a post-race disqualification for obstruction, which must have been really, really tough. Yesterday, Canadians won 6 medals at the Commonwealth Games. In track and field and para-athletics, Shariana Hassa won gold in the women's T47 100-meter final in 12.23 seconds, a new Canadian record. Chloe Dunbar took silver in the women's T47 100-meter final in 12.33 seconds. So it was a gold-silver podium for Canada in that event. Julia Tunks took the silver in the women's discus throw with a throw of 60.67 meters, and George Kwarku with guide Oluwasegun Makinde took the bronze in the men's T12 100-meter final in 11.06 seconds. In weightlifting, Xavier Lusignan took the bronze in the men's 110 kilogram division with a total lift of 356 kilograms, and Etta Love took the bronze in the women's 86 plus kilogram division with a 250 kilogram total lift. So lots to be proud of from our Canadians here, and a special shout out, Kits and Cubs, to a young Canadian tennis player called Keegan Rice, who has been around for a couple of years at the lower levels junior, playing a couple tournaments here and there, but has added more games to his schedule and has had a completely wild breakout. A couple of years ago, this young man was not even ranked in the top 1,000 in the world. And then he just showed up this year at a tournament in Laval and brought himself to the final in that tournament, had some good results along the way, and now he's playing at a big tournament in Vancouver, challenger level. And so far, this young man is rocking it. He has won 3 matches in a row. And even though he entered this tournament ranked 831st in the world, he's defeated players ranked as high as 129th in the world. So this young man here is really going far. And from not even being in the top 1,000 just a few weeks ago, Keegan Rice is now just surged up the rankings and is now ranked 581st in the world in just a matter of weeks. If this keeps going for this young man, we're going to be hearing a lot from him very, very soon. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, Kits and Cubs, that we might have a new phenom on our hands. And that's all I got for you for now. So there you go. Hopefully, I will see you at our regular time on Monday. May attempt to do something either later today or early tomorrow to try to make up for the show that I did not have yesterday. So stay tuned for that. But if not, we'll try to do my regular show on Monday morning because that should give me enough time to present it to you and still get to the tennis on time to watch it start. All right. That's all I got. Have a wonderful time. Amour et bisous. And we will see you very, very soon. Bye, everyone.